It's nice to be back here at the Doula School YouTube channel. I want to talk to you today about methods for accepting payments. So I know when we start off, we're so cost conscious and we're often thinking about how can I save money here and there. I think it's important to remember that when we're only focused on how we can save money, what often happens is we get stuck in this scarcity mindset. We're always worried about lack. And when we get stuck in there, the truth is that we actually block ourselves from making more money. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but this is something I've done so much work on as a doula. Coming from a time when I made not enough money to sustain myself and to support myself and my children, to an abundant doula career and agency, I can tell you that the number one thing I did differently that brought me from not enough to enough was changing my mindset. So let me give you an example. I'm going to tell you a story of when, I've been doing this work for a really long time. And if you go back 20 years ago, it wasn't just anybody that could get a merchant account to charge like credit cards, right? It was actually kind of tough to do. And it's a whole credit check thing. There's all kinds of stuff involved in that. But then there was a time, and so what I used to do is when people would call to sign up for prenatal classes, I literally would get them to mail me a check. Some of you are like, what the hell's a check, right? I know, it's like a piece of paper that tells people to take money out of their bank. It's amazing. Anyhow, literally, I would wait patiently and I'd be so excited when the check came in the mail and I'd bring it to the bank and then I'd confirm the person's registration. What? Right? But anyway, that was a long time ago and things were different then, okay? Websites now have amazing functionality where we can connect easily merchant accounts, things like PayPal, Stripe, Square, so that you can get paid instantly. So I know what you're thinking, but Stephanie, those things cost so much money. Y'all, I know I spend thousands and thousands of dollars every year on credit card processing. So you're like, but so that's not worth it. Why would I give up like 3.5% of every purchase so that I can accept it? Coming back to my story. So the years where it started to get a little bit easier to accept credit cards and they made it easier for people to have a merchant account. I hemmed and hawed with my business partner, Jennifer, at the time. We were just talking about this week and how far we've come from these days. For almost an entire year, we went, oh, should we do it? Shouldn't we do it? Oh, but we're going to lose so much money on doing this. If everyone pays, oh my gosh, that's so much money in a year. That year, while we were hemming and hawing about that, 3 people called and signed up for classes and then never ended up mailing their check. And at the end of the year, when we finally pulled the plug, and we went ahead and signed up for a merchant account, I went, those 3 people that had signed up and then never sent their check, if I could have taken their credit card over the phone, or if they would have booked through the site, we would have had that money. And those 3 people would have paid for the credit card processing costs for all the clients that year. And so what I encourage you to consider for yourself is not how much will it cost me, but what is the opportunity cost of not doing it? If you want to be able to serve people who are in various economic situations, if you want to facilitate your administrative tasks, and I know that's hard for a lot of independent doulas who don't have a whole staff like I do now, right? So we want to make our lives easier. Well, wouldn't it be easier if someone could sign a contract and pay online? So what if you pay a few bucks for that? And I know you're thinking, Stephanie, on $1,500, that's a lot of money. What is your time worth? Instead of chasing after people, instead of having to go to the bank, instead of doing all of these different things, what if you worked on your business? What if you worked on your marketing? What if you took that extra step and it gave you more time to go that extra mile for your clients and do something special for them, to reach out to them, to send them something that you're thinking about? When we're burdened by our administrative tasks, it really takes away from everything else. So as you're building your business and you're making these decisions for yourself and you're considering things and spending money on things, I encourage you to flip it around a little bit in your mind. And not just ask yourself, how much will this cost, but how much will it cost me not to do it? What is the opportunity cost for the lost opportunities by not doing the thing? And of course, we all have budgets and we all have limits. I get that. So do I. However, we need to be looking at things from an abundance mindset and not a scarcity mindset. So the abundance side says, if I spend the money on the credit card processing fees, it's going to allow people to purchase my services who can't pay it all at once. People who need to put it on a credit card so that they can pay that off over time, right? We're not a lender. So we can't always absorb someone to pay it off over many months or years, but other people who do that for their job, right? It allows you to free up your time for other things, right? So thinking, what else does this allow me to do by spending the money on this thing, whatever it is, a new marketing initiative, some support. What's the point in your career where you realize you're drowning in the administrative burden and that you really need some administrative support? That was the biggest mistake I made. I had so many business coaches that told me, you need admin support, you need admin support. And all I kept saying was, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. And when I finally just took that leap of faith, and I still couldn't afford it when I did it, and I stepped off the cliff, I just went, I'm going to do it. I'm going to hire somebody. I need help. I did it in that very first month. Having someone else take all of those hours off of my schedule allowed me to work on my business, and I made more than enough to pay for their salary. Can you believe that? In the very first month, it didn't even take me many months. I couldn't believe it. I always say it was the thing that I did that was the biggest mistake, was not getting that support soon enough. And of course that has happened many times since then, where I was like, oh, should I do this thing? And have to take the leap of faith. Now, after 20 years of doing work and being a business owner, it has reinforced itself for me that whenever I've been worried about making a financial decision because I didn't think I could afford it, and then I did it, it always made sense. So now I have that pattern that I know, even if I'm nervous, it's probably going to be the right thing. Once in a while I make a mistake, but it's probably going to be the right thing most of the time if I've been thinking about it for a long time. So if you're a new doula, you're considering whether or not you should accept credit cards, I really urge you, please. In today's day and age, if you're a professional business, it really makes sense to do that. Now, some of you are probably thinking, but if they can pay in cash, they can send me Venmo or e-transfer, depending on your country. Shouldn't I get them to try that? Sure. And you can absolutely make that a preference. You can say, hey, you can say to your clients, I prefer if you could pay like this, but if you can't, I do offer these other options as well. Anyway, food for thought. I hope you are all prosperously growing your doula business, your birth business, your careers. And I look forward to sharing more with you again next month. See